I'd like to call up Joseph Cirincione. Joe is president of the Ploughshares Fund, a global security foundation. He's the author of the new book, Nuclear Nightmares, Securing the World Before It Is Too Late, Bomb Scare, The History and Future of Nuclear Weapons and Deadly Arsenals, Nuclear, Biological, and Chemical Threats. I see a theme there. Also some concerns. Mr. Cirincione is a member of Secretary of State John Kerry's International Security Advisory Board and the Council on Foreign Relations.
Thank you very much, Neera. Thank you for having me here. It's an honor to be here. I testify, of course, in my personal capacity and not representing Ploughshares Fund or the International Security Advisory Board or the Washington Echo Chamber, of which I'm apparently a charter member. In my written testimony, which I hope you will get eventually, I've tried to send it to you, I outlined the... No, it's on. One. I will talk louder.
I'll warn you, too, about your time.
Joe?
Thank you.
It's the button that has the
Yes, it's on.
It's on, okay, fine.
Yeah, it's glowing green.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
It's
thank you
back.
very much. In my written testimony, I outlined the three classic nuclear threats that our nation faces: stopping nuclear terrorism, stopping new nuclear nations, and reducing and eliminating the threat from the 15,000 nuclear weapons still in the world today. Thanks in great part to the policies that President Obama brought with him into the White House,
that one's mine.
we have made great progress on reducing all those threats. I was privileged to be part of then Senator Obama's national security team during the campaign of 2007 and 2008 and help craft those policies. But as even he would admit, we have a long way to go. We fell far short of what the president hoped to achieve. The greatest progress by far was made on the Iran deal, thanks in great part to the work of Wendy Sherman and her team and others at the State Department, the Department of Energy, and of course the White House itself. This country has achieved the greatest national security victory in a generation or more. This deal effectively blocks Iran's pathways to a bomb. It didn't cost us a dime and nobody died. That is almost by definition a nuclear security triumph. There's more to say about all these, and the party has spoken eloquently about this in the 2008 and 2012 party platform, and one of our challenges is to make sure that as we go forward, we do not backtrack from that language, from that goals, but we now face a fourth threat rather, and that is the threat of nuclear bankruptcy. We now have in motion a $1 trillion plan to modernize every single weapon in our arsenal. Principal Deputy Undersecretary of Defense for Policy Brian McEwen said last October, we're looking at that big bow wave and wondering how the heck we're going to pay for it, and probably thanking our stars who won't be here to answer that question. Well, the next president will be there. She will have the responsibility of answering that question, of coming up with the solutions. I had the privilege this Monday night of being in San Francisco, an event that Ploughshares had sponsored. Governor Jerry Brown came and spoke with passion and eloquence about the immorality of nuclear weapons, which I agree with, about the insanity of our nuclear posture, which I agree with. But it was Michelle Flournoy who put her finger on the budget button. There is no way, she said, that we're going to be able to pay for the weapons that we now have under order. The next nuclear posture review is going to be, by definition, a very consequential one. We have to go back to first principles, she said. Do we still need the triad? Do we still have to have parity? Just because Russia has 5,000 weapons, do we have to have 5,000 weapons? China seems to get along perfectly fine with only 200 weapons to deter us. Do we still need an ICBM force? Should we cancel the new nuclear cruise missile, a first-use weapon now in the pipeline? These are the kinds of questions the next administration is going to have to answer. I don't expect the platform to take positions on all these, but it would be incumbent upon us to open the door to these kinds of questions, to raise these kinds of questions. And when we're doing so, we can look to our congressional leaders who have passed legislation, who have spoken eloquently about this. Most specifically, an act called the Smarter Approach to Nuclear Expenditures, or the SANE Act, introduced by Senators Jeffrey Merkel, Bernie Sanders, and Al Franken, outlining a sensible plan for how we can trim the nuclear force, not unilaterally disarm, but trim the nuclear force, and in so doing, save $100 billion over at least the 10 years. If we don't do this, this nuclear excess will rob our warriors of the weapons they need to fight the threats we're fighting in the world today. I encourage the Platform Committee to express its concern about the nuclear budget and to at least open the door to a fresh look at what we need and why we need it.
Thank you very much, Ms. Tandon.
I appreciate at the beginning of your remarks you talked about the Iran nuclear deal. I just wanted to recognize that that is an issue that is still litigated in the national debate, and that we have a nominee of the Republican Party who continues to say it's a bad deal, it's a terrible deal for American sovereignty. So I'd love to just get your specific thoughts on how the Iran nuclear deal has continued to be helpful, and why it's so important and is an important issue in this general election as well.
The Iran nuclear agreement addressed all the concerns we and our allies had about the program. The best solution was to eliminate every ounce of uranium in that country, every brick of the nuclear complex. We could not get that deal. So we had to restrict the program down to the lowest possible level, and in so doing, we effectively blocked the uranium pathway. They have ripped out 2/3 of their centrifuges. They have shipped their uranium stockpile out of the country except for a token amount. We blocked the plutonium pathway. They ripped the core out of their plutonium reactor, drilled it full of holes, and filled it full of concrete. We blocked the covert pathway to a nuclear weapon by imposing and getting the Iranians to agree to the most stringent inspection regime ever negotiated. If a Republican president had negotiated that deal, they would have already named an airport after him. It is politics, not strategy, that motivates the opposition to that deal.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you.